right, namaste and welcome again this Saturday. It's time for us to have the second session of our meditation course of True Self-Development. So we are very happy that you have joined today as well. And this Saturday we will continue the discussion of yesterday and discuss the topic of who is pulling my strings, discovering the cause of my actions. So warmly welcome, and we also welcome uh, Balakiadas. Thank you for joining us today again.
All right, Ruben, thank you very much. We had a nice time last night, and so I'm glad to be back. We'll continue with where we left off. Again, I offer my respects to my spiritual masters, Siddha Sarupananda Paramahamsa and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. So this Vedic knowledge is amazing. You know, it gives us some direction. It gives us some understanding because, as we always say, you know, life is a mystery. That's what people tell us. What is life? Life's a mystery, you see. But that's not good enough, you know. That doesn't work. We need to know the truth, not mysteries. So, tonight we're going to talk about who is pulling my strings, you know. Somebody's pulling our strings. So last night we talked about the trends of society. They pull our strings. You know, people do what they do because they become clones. They become puppets in the hands of the manipulators, you see. And so it's not good to be a puppet unless the person pulling your strings is an absolute personality and you're dancing to an absolute tune. See, we'll talk about that in our last presentation. But in the material world, which is where we are, by the way, we, the spirit soul, are in the material world. We are doing what we do because of influences that are acting upon us. And these are psychic influences. You know, I've talked about this to a Norwegian audience before. These are modes of nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. They're psychological influences, and they actually, you know, make it so we do what we do, we think what we think, our desires are what they are, you see. And so the people who are, you know, the puppet masters of society, so to speak, that are telling us to wear these kind of clothes and listen to this kind of music, and, you know, the media presents everything as, you know, what will make you happy or whatever it is. You see, the advertisers are big into this. They're being controlled by these modes of nature as well. It's not that they're exempt. Everybody in the material world is controlled by these three influences: goodness, passion, and ignorance. You see? So, if we are in these modes, then we're going to act according to their direction, their dictates. If I'm in the mode of goodness, I've talked about this before, you know, I'm going to have a tendency to like to be quiet and peaceful. I like to be clean. I like to eat good food, you see. So when the advertisers come on and try to influence me to do things that pull me into the mode of passion and ignorance, I'm not very much interested, you see. Everybody's going that direction, but I'm not interested. You know, I've met people, many, many different people, you know, over the years, you know, and they've confided in me and said, you know, when I was in university, for instance, you know, and that's party town, right? That's what you do there. I mean, that's the reason you go, really. You know, the degree is secondary. You go for the parties. You go for the good times. That's why people join sororities and, you know, and fraternities and, you know, who can drink the most and have the most, quote, fun. But anyway, they would tell me, but I was never into that. It just never appealed to me. You know, I just couldn't get into it. You know, all the cool clothes and the cool chicks and everything just didn't do it for me. Why? Because they were under the influence of the mode of goodness, see. Whereas the majority was under the influence of mode of passion and ignorance. So that was exactly what they were looking for. And so it's like that. People in the mode of passion are into passionate lifestyles. Senses are very agitated. They want to just enjoy the senses. Their agenda is more sensual pleasures, see? And they may sacrifice some sensual pleasures to get the means to do that. They might, study very hard and so they can get a good job, so they can make a lot of money, so then they can enjoy their senses. And, or their idea of enjoyment might not be the hedonistic idea that I was presenting, but more the control, the power, the success. Look at me. I didn't get taken away by all of that, nonsense lifestyle. I made a success of myself. You see, now I have a lot of money, I have prestige, and on it goes, you see. But it's still the same thing. It's a mode of passion, It's still pulling my string, so to speak. And then, of course, the mode of ignorance is pulling a dark string, even darker than the mode of passion, you see. It's just dragging me down into dark areas, of lifestyle and, just low consciousness and, a lot of intoxication and low ambition. Don't really need to achieve much materially, just enough to get by, to feed my dark desires and motivations. And, it's just a real, like, hellish world. It's like the creatures and like the orcs in Lord of the Rings. They just came out of the caves and the mountains and, and so, that's what's going on with us. I, as an individual, am not really the spirit soul, not really making life's choices. I think I am because I'm identifying with my mind, I'm identifying with my desires, and so on. And therefore, I think this is what I want, this is who I am. But no, it's not. It's just these influences of material nature. And so therefore, they make it so I do what I do. Now, for every action that we perform, there's a reaction. This is called the law of karma. If you've heard anything about, higher levels of understanding life, you've heard about karma, see? Scriptures have talked about it forever because it's always present and it's always controlling us. See, in the Holy Bible it says, as you sow, so shall you reap. You see, what goes around comes around. Everything you do is going to come back on you. See, there's laws of material nature. We can't change those laws. You see, they are established from the beginning of the creation. And they actually control us, just like these three modes of nature. They are what constitutes the material creation. I can't change any of this. All I can do is understand it and use it to my advantage instead of to my disadvantage. See, that's an intelligent person. That's a person with knowledge, but who has such knowledge? You don't get this in universities. You don't get it in your master's degree and your doctor's degree. People say, oh, you learn from life, the hard knocks of life. You don't get it there either. You're just knocked around. Okay, I won't do that again, but you do something equally as stupid, you see, and get knocked around another way. You don't really learn. There's an idea, and I heard it from the time I was, born, basically, that old people are wise, Why? Because they've been through many years of surviving in the material world, and they've been knocked around this way and that way and another way, see? So they're wise. That's not wisdom. That's just maybe a little bit of information of how to traverse the minefield without getting blown up. But you go over on another tangent and get blown up another way. See, it's not really the information that we need. So anyway, back to this idea of karma. You see, whatever I do is going to have an effect. So if I cause trouble to another living entity, and it can be any living entity, in a human body, in an animal body, in a plant body, you see, there's many, many different forms of life in the material world, 8,400,000, according to the Vedic scriptures. So, if I cause pain, suffering, hardship, or death to another living entity, I will be punished for that. And coming back to me in the future will be pain, suffering, hardship, and death. See, what goes around comes around. I perform this action, and a result will be coming back. See, bad action, bad result, bad karma. But if I do some good for another living entity, I help an elderly person. I take care of a sick animal. I, do charity work or welfare work, something to kind of help other living entities. Then I'll be rewarded for that. That's called pious activity, good karma. So in the future, I'll be rewarded. Good things will come back to me. Bad action, bad karma. Good action, good karma. And we're going through life always creating karma. If I'm in the mode of goodness, I will create a lot of karma because I'm just a kind person. My heart is soft. I'm not trying to commit violence on other people. See, I'm not attracted to hurting animals, eating animals. If you're really in the mode of goodness, you don't eat animals. You see, you understand it's not good for my body. It's not good for the animal. I have compassion on them. Why do I want to cage up some chickens or pigs or cows or something so they suffer for, their life until it's killed so I can eat their body? I mean, that doesn't sound very good. So they're not into that. This is my point. The mode of goodness actually protects them from falling into that. So their karma is much different than the person in the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, see, who's attracted to eating meat and intoxications and all these things that bring so much future suffering, you see. A person in the mode of goodness is kind. He doesn't, engage in a lot of anger and harsh words and cruelty and mental cruelty to people and abuse and all these things. That's not what he does. He's under a different influence. So he doesn't get that bad karma. But the person in the mode of passion especially is always angry. Why? Because he's so ambitious and he's so on the verge. He's so controlled by lust. And it doesn't always work out. And somebody's in the way of, his enjoyment or his achievements. And so he's always angry, and that's the world today. He gets what he thought he wanted, and it doesn't make him happy. He's angry about that. It's a disappointment. It was supposed to be the best thing. It had great promise. I got it, and now what? I'm angry about that. I'm depressed. He's envious. Other people are having fun. I'm not. Again, back to the social media. It's all so fake. Everybody on social media is trying to make the rest of the world think they're having a great time. They preen up and they get in front of the camera so they look good and, they're trending, they're skinny and they're wearing the right clothes and their hair's fixed the way it's supposed to be according to the latest TikTok example. And they're feeling like, wow, I'm so happy you guys be where I'm at. I'm just having such a great time. Oh, they're not. It's fake. And people look at this and they get into, oh, but they're having fun and I'm not. So they're depressed. Whereas this person who's, scamming everybody else is looking at somebody else. Well, they're really having fun and I'm not. I'm just pretending. You see, it's such a, vicious circle that people get caught up in, So, a lot of intoxication, either, to have those moments of amazing fun, you see, especially through the drugs that they're using now. So you can get really high really quick, almost instantaneously, but then you come crashing down, you see. And there's, the threat of death every time you take another one of those pills, see. But it's worth it because if you get a few moments of bliss, exhilaration, ecstasy, then, hey, if I die, it was worth it. You see, that's how depraved people have come. Because they're in the modes of passion and ignorance. And the karma that they create through this is huge. And so either in this life, we're getting it as we go. There's instant karma, and then there's some that takes place somewhere down the road, and we take some into our next life, and we're born in a certain situation, It could be very unfavorable, and we're suffering from the beginning. We have mental issues, physical issues. Our environment is hellish. We happen to be born to parents that are, certainly not the best parents, so we're suffering from that angle, family suffering and so on. It's our karma. We did all this to ourselves. See, we allowed ourselves to be put in this position, see, because we have no knowledge. We don't know what to do. They call it under the spell of the three modes of material nature. And we've all heard in the, different tales of, mystics and witches and so on that, some evil personality puts some dark evil force on you, and you're plagued at night, you can't sleep, and your body's all contorted, and whatever, like the demon within kind of thing. Well, it's like that. These three modes of nature cast their spell, but because we can't see it, we're so covered up with this illusion of I'm the body, this is my world, this is my home, I am my desires, I am my ambitions, I am all, that we just get pushed along. The strings are being pulled, we're dancing the dance, and we're helpless, basically helpless. And that's how it describes it. We're helpless against these modes of nature, see. We need knowledge. We need information about these things. We need to know about the law of karma. This is serious. Law of karma is serious stuff. When I first heard about the law of karma many years ago, it was 1997, I think, I had no idea. I mean, I was raised in the Christian philosophy, so I knew as you sow, shall you reap, but I didn't really apply it to my everyday life, of just doing what everybody else was doing and enjoying like everybody else. And I heard about the law of karma, and I didn't hear very much because the person didn't know very much that kind of introduced me, But I realized right away, man, this is serious. And I looked at my life and I thought, I got to change a lot of stuff because a lot of things I'm doing, which until that moment I was like, I didn't even think it was wrong. I didn't think there was any problem. I realized that's not going to work because I'm going to suffer a lot from doing these things, which before I didn't even know it was wrong. See? So I started thinking different. I started looking for more information. I started looking for information about how should I live. I know how I am living, and I'm loving it. I was having a great time, but is it worth it? Is the future that I'm creating now going to be worth the results that are going to be in my face when that time comes, see? And I concluded it's not worth it, So I kind of changed a lot of stuff real quick, simply because I understood some information that somebody presented to me as being true. I didn't just, wave it off as you nuts. Who cares? Somehow I didn't do that because I always wanted to have a good time, but at the expense of suffering? No, not that kind of suffering. So anyway, I began to look as a person, individual that I was, I began to look at, I didn't understand the three modes of nature. I never heard of them at that point. But I understood the cleaner I live and the more, honest I am and the more I'm not, engaging in these bad habits and activities, the better my life is going to be. And so I made that choice. Nobody made me do anything. But I started living that lifestyle. And I was in the middle of a society of people that were, this was in the 60s and 70s and 80s, but I said 97. That was absolutely wrong. 67. See, 97, 30 years off. But in 67, there was so much of this other influence around, all the drugs and all the trips and all the, free everything. But somehow I understand this is not going to lead to a good end. The future is not going to be very good if I continue in this way, you see. So I, as an individual, chose to go a different direction. You see, I maintained a lot of the activities I was doing, but a lot of activities I didn't do. I changed my diet, I changed my association, you know, I gave up all those, things that I thought was amazing, and it was a better life. It was a much better life. And things fell in place, and it was easy for me to just to find another way to live, supported by the mode of goodness, you see. Because, it's known what we're doing. I mean, we're not the seers of the absolute, you see. There is an absolute seer who understands us. He understands our desires, our motives, why we're doing what we're doing, And he knows when I want to change things, I get some help, Some people call it the universe helps me. Some people call it a higher power helps me. Some people call it intuition helps me, or my conscience guided me, or whatever. It's all the same influence. It's just different ways to describe it, and people see different portions of the overall picture, and so they think like that. So gradually we need to gain knowledge, real education. We're not against material education, of course not, but just that alone is not enough. We need real, absolute knowledge. This Vedic knowledge that I often refer to, there's no substitute for that. There's no substitute. See, you can have all kinds of knowledge, but if you don't have this knowledge, then you're really in ignorance about life, You may be the greatest scientist ever, but you're still in ignorance. You might be the most successful business person. You might be the most famous actor or actress. You might be the best musician that's ever walked the planet, and everybody recognizes that. But you don't really know what to do with all that talent and all that. That's all good karma. That's something that happened in your past that you created that made it so you were successful in these ways. But it oftentimes leads to destruction, you see. It leads you down. Success, is not always a good thing. Success, according to the Vedas, is success in life, in our quest for happiness and satisfaction, you see. So again, our time has expired. Another little session. We're going to kind of, pull this all together. Next session. Let's do like 3 minutes of Garunga breathing just to end this session. I think we got a couple minutes left. See, you know how to do it. So again, get comfortable. Let your head just kind of slow down a little bit and just focus on Garunga. Here we go. Everybody take a big breath, let it out, and relax. Now slowly, gently, and deeply inhale and chant Gauranga in the mind. 2 more times. Haribol. Okay, isn't that relaxing? Isn't that so peaceful just to do that short session? I mean, that's just what 3 or 4 minutes, but it changes everything, you know. And this isn't another level completely. This is not even the mode of goodness. This is pure goodness. This is above all these modes of material nature. So let this be some trend that you would like to follow. See? Let this pull your strings, and you will discover things that you never knew existed within yourself. Mm. So thank you for being with us again tonight. Tomorrow night we'll be back Sunday night. We'll try to wrap this whole idea up. So, you know, between now and then, if you do your Garunga meditation for a few minutes, you know, it'll be great, you know, and we'll try to do a short session before we begin next time. Yeah. So, the path forward, that's what we're going to talk about next. The path forward. We brought you to the moment. We've talked about a few things. Let's go forward. So, come see us tomorrow night, Sunday night, and have a good time between now and then. Haribol, Haribol.